So hello everybody. I'd like to welcome you today to this webinar put on by the Geography program, which is within the Department of Geography and Planning at Queen's University. Thank you for joining us. There's students that are joining us today representing applicants to all of our programs, our Master of Arts program, Master of Science program, and also our PhD program. I do have a couple of students joining the webinar today. From different parts of our program. We're not representing all parts of our program, but I don't want you to feel slighted if you aren't going to hear from, example, an MA student. It doesn't at all reflect on what we think about MA students. I tried to get another student and I was unable to. So I also want to just mention, so all of you are at various stages in the application process. Some of you have heard back from us, some of you have not. We'll be completing our reviews of applications soon, hopefully within the next week or so, and so you should be hearing from us in the very near future. If you have any questions on your application, you can feel free to direct them either to myself, so my name's Neil Scott, or you can send them to either of our administrative staff in the office, Joanne Tinlin or Angela Ballastent. So I think we'll go ahead and get started. So again, my name is Neil Scott. I'm the Associate Head in charge of the Geography Graduate Program. The two students that are joining us today, Melissa Forcioni, who's a first-year PhD student in Human Geography, and Valerie Fremantle, who's a first-year MSc student in Physical Geography. And they'll be talking to you a little bit about their first-year experiences in the program in Geography, a little bit about life in Kingston, and some other things that might be of interest to you. We'll kind of go through all of our slides, and then at the end there'll be opportunities for asking questions. Some of those we'll answer that everybody can hear. Some of those we'll be answering privately, so just so you know how that will work. Okay, so just I'm going to talk about, here's just an outline of the topics I want to cover today. We've kind of gone through introductions. I'll talk a little bit about why you should study geography at Queen's, and in the context of that, a little bit about our recent merger between the Geography Department and the School of Urban and Regional Planning. Then I'll give a brief overview of our programs, putting the MA and MSc programs together, where I'll talk about sort of the duration, the courses, etc. And then I'll talk a little bit about the PhD program. I'll spend a bit of time talking about funding, sources of funding, opportunities for funding. I'll mention briefly what some of our alumni are doing. I think one thing we've been very successful at is placing our alumni both in jobs, but also those that choose to go on either in academic careers or other opportunities. We've been very successful, I think, and that's one thing that we pride ourselves on, is that our alumni have been very successful once they leave our program. We'll talk a little bit about life in Kingston. Kingston is a great place to live. I'll just preface the discussion with that. I've been here for about 12 years, and I've been really happy with Kingston as a place to live. So we'll share some of the positive things about living in Kingston with you. And then Melissa and Valerie will talk a little bit about departmental life, and then we'll have some time for questions at the end. Okay, so a little bit about our program in geography. So again, this sits within the Department of Geography and Planning, but combined, we're one of the largest graduate programs in arts and sciences. We have 69 MPL students, 9 MA students, 11 MSc students, and 35 PhD students. So we're a very large department. Creates lots of opportunities, though, for you to meet new people in a wide range of disciplines. I think, as many of you know, geography is a very interdisciplinary discipline, and our program, I think, really reflects that in terms of what our students do, but also what our faculty do, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. We have a world-class faculty. Within our faculty, we have Fellows of the Royal Society of Canada, we have several Canada Research Chairs, and also several Queen's National Scholars. So we have a faculty that's very highly rated internationally in terms of geography departments. We really try to create a very stimulating research environment, and we have the faculty that can do that, but we also have the students that contribute a lot to creating this stimulating environment. And one thing that I hear from a lot of students is how approachable the faculty are, and also the students, is that it's easy to go talk to people in our program. Doors are often open, and we really value that sort of interaction that goes on within the department. We also have a very strong record of placing our alumni. Several of our master's students go on to graduate programs, PhD programs, at a wide range of institutions. Several of our PhD students, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, have gone on to get academic careers, and I've got a little bit of information on where some of those students have gone. But by and large, we've been very successful, and we pride ourselves on the strength of our program leading to employment opportunities for our students. I mentioned this merger, so we're in our second year of the merger of the Department of Geography with the School of Urban and Regional Planning, where we're still working out some of the bugs associated with combining two programs. It's been very positive. We're in the process of renovating space in our main building, which will bring both units together in the same place, which will be a very positive development for everybody. It's also created lots of exciting opportunities for geography students to take planning courses, for planning students to take geography courses, and also opportunities for some really exciting interdisciplinary research. So we're all looking forward to seeing how this moves forward and creating some of these opportunities and taking advantage of them as we go forward into the future. And then the final thing I just wanted to say about our department and our program is we have an amazing support staff. You've been in touch with some of our support staff over email. They're fantastic, and they'll do everything they can to try and make your time at Queens productive and make sure that you get as much out of your program of study as you possibly can. I can't say enough about how great they are. One of the other things about our program is that for many of our students, it provides opportunities to travel and do their research in some very unique places. And these aren't just sort of beautiful places with beautiful scenery. Some of them are very unique culturally. Some of them have very unique problems, environmental problems, cultural issues. This is just an example of, from 3 of our students, some of the places of study on the left. Graduate student Sean Aruda, who just finished a year or so ago doing research up in the high Arctic. We have a strong research program in our physical geography group up in the high Arctic. The middle photograph, Alexander Peterson, works in Guatemala, and this is a picture of her interacting with community members in Guatemala. And then on the top right, Yao Feng, who's a PhD student in physical geography, doing field work in China. So there are lots of really unique opportunities to do field work in some very exciting and interesting places as part of our program. So just to talk a little bit about the programs, first of all I want to talk about the MA and the MSc programs. So for each of these programs, basically you have 2 years of funding eligible time. So we guarantee funding for that 2-year period. If you don't complete your degree or your thesis within that 2-year period, you can go beyond it, but we can't guarantee funding. But there are often some opportunities for students to get some funding beyond that window of time. But we really encourage all of our master's students to finish within this 2 years of funding eligible time. You'll take 4 courses, and those are 1 semester in length. As part of your program, you'll select those courses in consultation with your supervisor. You also will take Geography 857, which is a professional development course for all of our master's students. A main part of that course involves preparing your research proposal and then actually presenting it at the end to the entire department. This really helps to keep all of our master's students on track in terms of planning their research programs and making sure that they're ready for field work or any other kind of work they need to do in the first summer of their research program. It is possible to take courses outside of the department, but you have to get permission to do that. But several of our students are taking courses in other departments. Most of your coursework is completed in the first year, and that's basically to kind of clear the way so that you can focus on your research work in your second year. One opportunity we do have for some master's students, and this is done in consultation with the supervisor but also with the department, is promotion to the PhD program after year 1. We don't have many students that do this. The positive part of it is that it gives you an extra year of funding to complete a PhD program. The negative side is that you don't get your master's on the way, and so there is a bit of a risk to the students if they decide to go the route of promotion. But again, this is all done in consultation with your supervisor and with the department, and for students that are interested in that opportunity. As I mentioned, the second year is dedicated to thesis writing, and I want to just say that the School of Graduate Studies has a lot of support in place to help students with thesis writing, including what they call the thesis boot camp, which is an opportunity for students to kind of get away from distractions and really focus on their writing. The PhD program, there's 4 years of funding eligible time. And again, we really encourage all of our PhD students to complete their theses within that 4 years of time. Again, if you go beyond, it doesn't mean that you have to leave the university, but chances for funding are not, or opportunities for funding are not guaranteed beyond the 4-year period. As part of the PhD program, you have to take 2 one-semester courses. And then in addition to that, you take Geography 801, which again is a professional development course focused on sort of developing a better understanding of some of the underlying theories in geography, but also with proposal preparation and presenting your proposal at the end of the year. I will say too that most of our grad classes are fairly small. Some range from maybe 4 to 5 students up to maybe 15 or 20, but they are all generally fairly small classes. And there are also opportunities to take courses in other departments as well with permission. Again, most of the coursework is completed in year 2, taking you forward towards your qualifying exam. The qualifying exam happens in the 2nd year. And this is really an opportunity to take your proposal, present it to a committee, sort of defend the research that you're planning to do, but also to demonstrate your general knowledge of the research and the research area that you'll be working in. And then once you get beyond the qualifying exam, then again it's full speed ahead, doing your research and writing up your thesis. And again, there's lots of support available through the School of Graduate Studies, including the thesis boot camps to help to get the thesis finished. So I want to talk a little bit about funding. So funding for our graduate students is comprised of many different sources, and I've listed them here just with their initials, but these include teaching assistantships, research assistantships, Queen's Graduate Awards, International Tuition Awards, which are for international students only. And then there's a wide range of external awards and also internal awards that make up the funding packages. You'll get early in the summer a fairly detailed letter that'll break down the offers of funding in terms of what the different sources are. Some of you would have already received some offer letters, and those don't have any details in them, but those details will be forthcoming in the future. For the internal awards, there's no need for you to apply for them. You're automatically considered for them once you're accepted into the program. If there are some internal awards that you have to apply for, we'll tell you about them. We do expect students to apply for funding as much as possible. Any additional funds that we bring into the program benefits our entire program. And so we will always encourage students to seek out additional funding when they can. Also want to just mention the Queen's Academic Excellence Awards. Those are awards that you can apply for as an incoming student. So in terms of funding levels, so for master's programs, we guarantee $14,000 a year, and that's a guaranteed minimum for the 2-year period. For PhD students, we guarantee $18,000 per year for the 4 years of the PhD program. For international students, we generally will add on a $5,000 ITA award, but that's done at the discretion of the department. So again, those are guaranteed minimum levels of funding. Most of our students will generally get a little bit more funding than those minimum levels, and that is a result of the success of our students in bringing in external funding, because if our students bring in a lot of external funds, it allows us sometimes to redistribute some of the internal funds that we get to other students. So it's a benefit for everybody. The other thing I wanted to mention is that funding can vary from year to year, and it depends really on our success getting external awards. But so whatever you're offered for the first year of funding, we're not necessarily going to guarantee the same amount for the second year because it does vary. We also have opportunities to apply for conference travel awards. These are awards that let you attend conferences and present posters or talks at national or international conferences. And we also have grants available for students doing field work. So this helps to offset some of the costs of doing field work in some of these exciting and interesting locations that I talked about earlier. These awards, the minimum funding packages, are often supplemented by faculty, and that might be through something like a research assistantship, or it might be through providing summer salary, because these minimum awards that the department provides doesn't include summer salaries. And some faculty will provide summer funding for students, but again, that's not something that we guarantee to all students. I mentioned about our successful alumni, and I've just put some examples here of where some of our alumni have gone and what sorts of jobs they're doing. Our employment rates of our graduates is quite high, and we're very proud of that. We work hard to make sure that our students are, especially for our PhD students, that they're engaged in the scientific network or for science or their research network, really, so that it's easier to move into things like postdoctoral positions or academic positions at other institutions. And you'll see just a range of places where our doctoral students have gone. Our master's students have gone to work at a range of different places, and again, I've listed these. Some of them are government agencies. Several of our students go into various consulting sort of programs. So there's a wide range of places that our master's students go. Many of them actually go on to complete PhDs as well at various institutions. So then I just want to talk a little bit about life in Kingston. So I think Kingston is a really great place to live. If you've had a chance to come and visit us, that's great. You had a chance to see Kingston. If you haven't, and that's something you want to try and arrange, we can certainly try and figure out a way to get you to come to Kingston. When I first came here, the city really sold me on coming here, and I think it's a very nice city for a range of reasons. The population's about 124,000 people. We're right on Lake Ontario. So from our building, I think it's about a 2-minute walk down to the shores of Lake Ontario. So a nice place to go on a hot summer day if you want to get somewhere where there's some cooler air. We have a very vibrant downtown, a lot of historical buildings, but there's also a lot of green areas that are not too far from the downtown area or the campus area, so places to sort of get away from campus or from the city. The cost of living is pretty reasonable. Certainly if you compare it to larger cities such as Vancouver or Toronto, it's not nearly as expensive in terms of housing. And I think generally we find it's a fairly reasonable place in terms of those costs. One of the nice things too, though we're not a big city, you're close to a lot of large cities, so we're close 2 to 2.5 hours from Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, and Syracuse, New York. So if you want that big city experience, you can get on a train or a bus and you can get to any of those cities fairly easily. So again, we kind of have the benefit of it being a smaller city, but you have really good access to the larger cities. There's lots of opportunities for outdoor recreation, great area for cycling, hiking, kayaking, other sorts of outdoor recreational pursuits. We're basically in the Thousand Islands, which is a beautiful area if you haven't been there, and we're also very close to the Adirondack Park in northern New York. All great places for outdoor recreation. Kingston's a very walkable city. It's great in terms of public transit. It's great for cycling in terms of transportation. So active transportation is fairly easy to do in our city. And we've reflecting on all these sort of positive things, Kingston has been rated pretty high in terms of the quality of life through various sorts of rankings. And I've put a connection at the bottom here if you want to look at some other information about Kingston. You're welcome to go to that link. Okay, so that's what I have to talk about right now. So I'm going to turn this over now to our two students. Melissa Forcioni will talk first about her experience as a first-year PhD student, and then Valerie Fremantle will talk about her experience as a first-year MSc student. So bear with me for a minute. We just have to pass over the earphones.
Well, greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be sharing some of my experiences at Queen's as a PhD student in the geography department. My name is Melissa Forcioni, and I began my student career in higher education as a sociology student at Bishop's University. And then I moved on to tackle my MA in sociology at Queen's. I eventually left the familiarity of sociology for geography, and it's proven to be very important in expanding my understanding of my research, which is in the decolonization of public education in Quebec. My work as a research assistant for the Assessing Awareness of Indigenous Realities project, a project here that emerged from the Queen's Geography Department, has really further helped me in this process of integrating both into the discipline of geography and into the department itself. I think the two images that I provided on the slides really represent the balance I've managed to maintain while pursuing higher education here. The first being an image of the activist spirit spirit I continue to nurture while at Queen's, as well as the second one highlighting the importance of including my hobbies like hiking and traveling in my life despite being very busy as a PhD student. So good balance has been very helpful. I've compiled a number of points that express what I've learned along the way in the last 3 years at Queen's and this past year in the geography department. So the first one being the importance of my relationship with my office mates. It's really good to figure out how to set up your collective office space together. So sharing access to a coffee maker or a printer, whatever else you need, will make the space less crowded and all the equipment more affordable as well. So that's just part of the process of getting to know your colleagues. And furthermore, you can really get to know who has similar interests and whether they're research or other. And I found it really immensely helpful to take part in reading groups or working activist groups when possible with my fellow colleagues. So that's been also very positive. In terms of my funding experience, sometimes it's difficult to navigate funding and it can become confusing. So making sure you ask questions and you understand how your funding package works and why it works the way it does can help you make better decisions about what you need to apply for, who you need to talk to, as well as the TA and the RA opportunities that might be available for you. I've managed to find and apply for various funding opportunities to help me out with basic living costs and tuition fees and money to put aside for my own research. So that's been also a positive experience. I've found that getting to know what services are available to me has been key in accessing the right people and expertise when I most needed them. So mental health counseling, access to medical attention, and accessibility services have been really key. In my personal experience, accessibility services and the departmental support has really greatly alleviated most, if not all, barriers I initially was facing as a student with a chronic condition, a condition that interferes with my personal and academic life. So the support from the department has been extremely helpful in getting me through that. Fourth, as a novice geographer and a creature greatly influenced by my surroundings, exploring space that works for my workflow and social needs has been really key in my experience here at Queen's and in Kingston. There is absolutely no shortage of places to study, grab a tea, catch up with a colleague, or just sit and stare into blank space. A good start off to my experience as a graduate student was taking part in orientation week, whether it was going to the SGS Pancake welcome breakfast, checking out the club's fair, soaking in all the TA training, and then later on in September taking part in the graduate student retreat that was at Queen's University Biostation. What was especially helpful for me was going to the Alternative Orientation Week activities, which are alcohol-free events where you can meet lots of cool people in an inclusive and accountable space. This is where I met most of my friends who are very activist-oriented, if that's what you're interested in. I really think an important part of my PhD experience has been thus far making connections and creating a support system I've managed to make within outside the department. There are numerous clubs, organizations, and unions to get involved in here. Every school has a particular culture, as does every department, and within geography itself, students have been involved with activist groups and actions on and off campus and have taken part in important social justice initiatives. I've been involved myself in organizing events for Indigenous Awareness Week. I've taken part in anti-racist movements, and I've had the opportunity to start an equity newsletter when I was in the sociology department. So there are really many opportunities to get some practice writing or sharing your research with a wider audience. The Queen's Journal is one. You can also write for local newspapers, various blogs and newsletters, which are all good places to start writing about your research or bringing into discussion things that you think deserve more attention. Through SGS, there is the 3-minute thesis competition where people can convincingly present their research in 3 minutes. This involves a lot of practice and feedback from supportive communities, communities of scholars, and the development of your research ideas itself. This is part of a provincial and a national competition, so that's a great opportunity to look into. There's also Grad Chat, where you can talk about your research to the wider Queens and Kingston community via the Queens radio station CFRC. So that's also a great opportunity to make your research accessible. And so the things I talked about were just some of the aspects that characterized my time here at Queen's. Please let me know if you have any questions pertaining to the points I brought up or anything else that may have to do with living and studying in Kingston or just being a PhD student overall. So thank you, and I'll pass you on to Valerie.
So hello everyone. I'll just start with saying how I got here. So I did my undergrad at the University of Guelph in environmental science, and I loved it there. But after 4.5 years of my co-op degree, I was just kind of feeling a little restless and wanted to try something new. So I switched to geography, and I started my thesis-based master's here in September. So I'm doing the thesis option, and this year I've spent about 25% of my time in the office on the thesis and the rest of it on my courses. But the portion of time I spend on my thesis has been increasing in the last few weeks as I've been doing more planning for my field season. I'm going up to Nunavut this summer and super excited. So that's the picture there on the right to look at environmental change. And it's been a really great environment to plan my field season in because I don't have any experience doing it, but there's lots of knowledge here that I've been able to tap into, and I'm really looking forward to going up there. Similar to many other students in the department, I have weekly meetings with my supervisor, and that's really helped me to stay on track. And my supervisor also has like a 1 or 2 day turnaround for edits on proposals or applications or anything that I need feedback on. And so it's really been a good balance between giving me the support I need to get through my degree and also giving me space to work and explore stuff. Also, I've been able to set my own working hours in the office, and my desk has kind of become like a second home. I have my own teapot there. Our office has a kettle, so it's like a comfy space to work. This brings me to what I spend the rest of my time doing, so the other 75 to 80% that's not my thesis. This year, because it's course, you do courses in the first year, most of my other time's been dedicated to courses and TAing. So starting with the coursework, as Neil mentioned, master's students have to take 5 courses. Of those 5, the only one that is compulsory for everybody is 857. This year there's 13 of us, and it's an equal split basically between the MA and MSc students. And that's kind of nice because it exposes the 2 sides of the department to other people's research, which is great. And its purpose is to help us write our proposals and develop our research design. And having this course has been really helpful because it's given me deadlines and also a way to get feedback on my work from my peers as well as the course instructor. And that has really helped to supplement the discussions that I have with my supervisor on my thesis. So definitely a great course. The other 4 courses that you have to take will vary for each person. So for me, all of my courses have been in the department, and they've all been seminar-based rather than lecture-based. So rather than attending like a 3-hour lecture each week, each student is given responsibility for delivering some part of the material to the rest of the students, and that's usually followed by like a class discussion or a smaller lecture. And this format was kind of tough for me to get my head around at first, but now I find it much more exciting than a lecture, and I'm much more comfortable giving presentations because of it. And it's also like a much more engaging format than just kind of sitting and listening to someone. You're actively learning about the material and then sharing it with your peers, which is great. And this brings me to the last kind of section of how I spend my time, which is TAing. So I'm a TA for a first year geography course this term, and I'm really enjoying it because I get to teach things I'm passionate about as part of my master's education. So to support my TAing, I've also gone to a few workshops that were offered by the Center for Teaching and Learning through the Expanding Horizons workshop series, which is in partnership with the SGS, so the Graduate Studies Department. These workshops are really they focused on things like how to give effective feedback and how to run your first tutorial, and they've made me much more confident in running my labs. The Expanding Workshops Horizon series also offers workshops on other topics like how to do a lit review, how to stop procrastinating, how to build relationships with your supervisor, and how to write a cover letter for various job applications, and many, many more. I did 10 of them in my first semester alone, and I found something useful in every single one of them. And so it's been really great for personal development outside of the office. And then outside of school time, there's lots of things to get involved in and lots of ways to kind of unwind. So my second day here, someone in my lab asked me to join the department's intramural intertube water polo team. And I almost said no because I've never played intertube water polo. But I'm really glad I said yes. Our team is called the Suspended Sediments, and it took us a semester, but I am now proud to say we have won 2 games. And as a team, we also go out and do other stuff together. So we go to trivia at the Grad Club on campus every week. And our trivia skills are marginally better than our water polo skills, but we have a good time anyways. And As Neil mentioned earlier, Kingston's surrounded by cool natural places. So last weekend, a group of us drove out to Thousand Islands National Park, which is only about a half hour east of here, and went for a hike, and that's the picture there of the St. Lawrence. For me, being close to the water on campus and also the shield around campus has been a great way to de-stress. And as a physical geography student, I like rocks and trees and water, and so having so many of them close by has been really awesome. For those of you looking ahead to housing, Kijiji and Facebook are good places to start. There's both May and August leases available, and I found that the rent was comparable to other places that I've lived as a student, so Guelph and Ottawa, cheaper than Toronto as well, from what I've heard from my friends. And Kingston's also got a really good bus network that you can use for free with your student card, but I usually end up walking or biking to school. There's very little time that I actually really need to take the bus. There's 2 grocery stores downtown, which are pretty close to campus, so it's nice and easy to get the essentials. And these stores also offer student discount days, which is wonderful. As a quick wrap-up, I'm just saying that I'm happy at Queen's because I've made some really great friends with people in the department. I have courses that have been challenging as well as rewarding, and I'm excited about my thesis. People in general have just been welcoming and genuine, and that's made me feel at home. And even though we're kind of a large department, it's pretty close-knit, and I've made lots of good friends and lots of good memories so far, and it's only been like 6 months. So if you have any questions, I'd love to talk about it. And I'm going to pass you back to Neil.
Okay, so that sort of ends the formal part of this. I did want to just add one thing. I mentioned about teaching assistantships. So teaching assistantships consist of 130 hours of work per semester. So if you get a full TA position, it actually is 130 hours each semester for 2 semesters. But if you ended up with a half TA, it would be 130 hours for only 1 semester. Most of our first-year students have a TA as part of their funding package, and you'll have an opportunity to choose courses early in the summer. If a TA is part of your funding package, you'll get a letter or an email that'll say, here's the courses. You get to rank them in terms of your preference. We try to match students up as best as we can with their preferences. Generally, we're able to get students into their first or second preference of the courses that they'd like to TA for. So anyway, that's all we have. I just want to say that Kingston is a great place to live. It's a very vibrant city. Queens is a fantastic university, and of course I'm biased, but the department, I think it's a strong department. Everybody gets along really well. We work together really well. It's a vibrant place to do research, and we're looking forward to having you join our program in the future. So we will take some time now for questions. Some of these we'll answer orally, and some of them we'll just type back to you. So feel free if you want to go ahead and send us some questions. This is the time for it. And I look forward to hopefully meeting some of you in the future. Okay, have a good day.